Hi students, good morning all of you. Today I want to discuss about an important topic that is Nernst distribution law and its applications. Before going to definition of Nernst distribution law, I want to share about the immiscible liquids. What is meant by immiscible liquids? Suppose let us assume solvent A and solvent B or liquid A, liquid B, both are immiscible liquids. When they mix with each other, when we take the mixture of both liquids, then they form two layers. They cannot mix at all. They cannot mix at all. They cannot dissolve each other. They cannot dissolve it in each other at all proportions and all concentration. Whatever the concentration, whatever the temperature, whatever the pressure, they cannot miscible with each other. They are completely miscible. That means they can form two layers. They can form two layers. For such type of immiscible liquids, Nernst apply a law which is called as a distribution law. What is the definition of distribution law? When a solute, example X, is added to two immiscible liquids, the solute distributes itself between the liquids in such a way that the ratio of its concentration in two liquid phases is constant at any given temperature. Once again, I want to repeat, when a solute is added to two immiscible liquids, the solute distributes itself between the two liquids in such a way that the ratio of its concentration in two liquid phases is constant at a given temperature. Explanation. So, if X is the solute which is distributed itself between two immiscible solvents A and B at a constant temperature, and X is in same molecular condition in both solvents. That means that what is the meaning of same molecular condition in both solvents? This meaning is that the solvent X do not undergo any further reaction, do not undergo either dissociation or either association in these two solvents or two liquids. That is X is in same molecular condition in both solvents. Once again, I repeat, if a solute X distributed itself between two immiscible solvents A and B at a constant temperature, and X is in same molecular condition in both solvents, then according to Nernst distribution law, the concentration of X in solvent A by concentration of X in solvent B is always constant, If C1 is the concentration of solute in solvent A and C2 is the concentration of solute in solvent B, then according to distribution law, C1 by C2 is always equal to constant. Here the constant is denoted or represented by Kd. This constant is called as distribution constant or partition constant or distribution ratio. This is also called as a distribution ratio. This is the figure which represents there are two immiscible liquids, two immiscible solvents A and B, in which the solute X is added to these two mixture of two immiscible liquids. Then the X is somewhat passes through the solvent B and solvent A. That means X dissolved some proportion in solvent A and dissolved some concentration in solvent B. Once again I repeat, if X is the solute, then it is added to the two immiscible liquid solvent A and solvent B. Then the X is some concentration of X is dissolved in solvent A and some concentration of X is dissolved in solvent B. So this figure represent that. Next, when the distribution of the solute reach dynamic equilibrium. What is the dynamic equilibrium? What is the dynamic equilibrium? What is the dynamic equilibrium? Already we know that equilibrium means in a chemical reaction the rate of forward reaction and the rate of backward reaction is always equal. For forward reaction and backward reaction, the rate is always, the rate of forward reaction and the rate of backward reaction is always equal. Then it is called a dynamic equilibrium. Here the solvent, the rate of passes of molecules from solvent A to B and the rate of solute particles from solvent B to A is equal. This is called as a dynamic equilibrium. Once again I repeat, what is the dynamic equilibrium? In this case, the rate of passage of solute particles from solvent B to A and also the rate of solute particles, the rate of passage of solute particles from solvent A to B, solvent A to solvent B is equal. This is called a dynamic equilibrium. So at a dynamic equilibrium, the rate at which molecules of X pass from solvent A to B is proportional to its concentration in A, in solvent A. Once again I repeat, the rate at which molecules of X pass from solvent A to B is proportional to its concentration in solvent A. That is R1 is directly proportional to C1. R1 is directly proportional to C1. So to remove the proportionality, we have to kept a constant, then R1 is equal to K1, where K1 is equal to constant. Similarly, the rate at which molecules of X pass from solvent B to A is proportional to its concentration in solvent B. Once again I repeat, the rate at which molecules of solute X pass from solvent B to solvent A is proportional to its concentration in B. That is from this definition, R2 is directly proportional to C2. So that implies R2 is equal to K2 into C2, where K2 is the constant. Since at equilibrium, already I explained that at equilibrium the rate of forward reaction is always equal to rate of the backward reaction. That is R1 is always equal to R2. That means K1 C1 is equal to K2 C2. K1 C1 is equal to K2 C2. So here C1 by C2 is equal to K2 by K2. If K2 by K2 is a constant, it is taken as KD. C1 by C2 is equal to KD. This is called a Nernst distribution law equation. This is called as a Nernst distribution law equation. Here KD is called as partition coefficient or distribution coefficient or distribution ratio. Next, applications of distribution law. There are numerous applications of distribution law in the laboratory as well also in industry. First application is solvent extraction. This is the process used for the separation of organic substances from aqueous solutions. This is the process of used for the separation of organic substances from aqueous solutions. First of all, the aqueous solution is shaken with an immiscible organic solvent such as ether or benzene in a separating funnel. The distribution ratio being in favor of ether, that is, most of the organic substance passes into the ether layer. The ether layer is separated, and then the ether is distilled off, then organic substance is left behind. Okay, once again I repeat, in solvent extraction process, the separation of organic substances from aqueous solution are executed. The aqueous solution is shaken with an immiscible organic solvent such as ether or benzene in a separating funnel. So when we shake the aqueous layer with benzene or ether, most of the organic substances passes into the ethanol layer. The ethanol layer is separated from the separating funnel, and then ether is distilled off because ether is easily evaporated on heating. Then we got organic substance. Next application is a confirmatory test for bromine and iodine. Actually, the salt solution which having either bromine or iodine is treated with the chlorine water. So small quantity of bromine or iodine is thus liberated. The solution is then shaken with the chloroform. Then the solution containing the liberated iodine or bromine is shaken with the chloroform. On standing, the chloroform forms a lower layer. The free bromine or iodine being more soluble in chloroform and concentrated into the lower layer, which making it red for bromine and violet for iodine. So if the lower layer contains red color, then it is stands for bromine. If the lower layer contains violet color, then it contains iodine. It is confirmed that that layer has iodine. So this is the confirmatory test for bromine and iodine. Once again I repeat, the salt solution containing bromine and iodine is treated with chlorine water. Then small quantity of bromine or iodine is liberated. The iodine or bromine liberated solution is then shaken with the chloroform. On standing, chloroform forms lower layer. The free bromine or iodine being more soluble in chloroform, and it is concentrated into the lower layer. When the lower layer appears red color, then the salt contains bromine, or when the lower layer contains violet color, then the salt contains iodine. Next, determination of solubility. Suppose the solubility of iodine benzene is to be determined, then iodine is shaken with water and benzene at equilibrium. Concentrations of iodine benzene is Cb and water is Cw. These are found experimentally. The value of distribution coefficient calculated by using distribution law. Cb by Cw is equal to Kd. Cb by Cw is equal to Kd. So then already we know that Kd is the constant. We know that a formula Sb by Sw is equal to Kd, where Sb is equal to solubility in benzene and Sw is equal to solubility in water. Here Kb is determined from the Nernst distribution law. Then we can find that the ratio of solubility in benzene and solubility in water by using the Nernst equation. Okay, once again I repeat, determination of solubility. Suppose the solubility of iodine benzene is to be determined. Iodine is shaken with the water and benzene at equilibrium concentrations. At equilibrium, concentrations of iodine in benzene, that is Cb, and concentration of iodine in water, that is Cw. These are found experimentally, and the distribution coefficient is calculated, that is Kd or Kb. So already we know that Nernst distribution law, that is C1 by C2 is equal to Kd. So by this formula we can find the Kd value by substituting this Kd value in this equation. Then we find the ratio of solubility of iodine in benzene and water. Next, determination of association. When a substance is associated in solvent A and exists as simple molecules in solvent B, the distribution law is modified as a nth root Ca by Cb is equal to K, where n is the number of molecules which combine to form an associated molecule. Suppose, for example, let us take solute X, which is added to the two immiscible solvents A and B. Then if the solute undergo association in solvent A and exists as simple molecule in solvent B, then the distribution law is modified as shown here, nth root Ca by Cb, that is equal to K, where Ca is the concentration of X in solvent A and also Cb is the concentration of X in solvent B. Therefore, if the association occurs in solvent A, then the law is modified as nth root Ca by Cb is equal to K, where K is the distribution constant, where n is the number of molecules which combine to form an associated molecule in solvent A. Next, determination of dissociation. Suppose a substance X is dissociated in solvent B and exists a single molecule in solvent A. Once again I repeat, suppose a substance X, that is solute X, is dissociated in solvent B and it exists a single molecule in solvent A. If small x is the degree of dissociation, the distribution law is modified as C1 by C2 into 1 minus x is equal to K. C1 by C2 into 1 minus x is equal to K, where C1 is equal to concentration of X in solvent A, C2 is equal to concentration of X in solvent B. The value of small x can be determined from conductivity measurements. Degree of dissociation can be determined from the conductivity measurements. According to conductivity measurements, the degree of dissociation alpha or x is equal to lambda v by lambda infinity. By using this formula, we can find the degree of dissociation, that is for the small x. Small x means degree of dissociation or degree of ionization. It can be determined from conductivity measurements, and also C1 and C2 are found experimentally. From C1 and C2, the value of K can be calculated. Using this value of K from X value, from C1 value, from C2 value, we can find the value of K, that is we can find the partition coefficient or distribution coefficient K. Using this value K, the value of X, the value of degree of dissociation for any other concentrations of solute can be determined. Okay, once again, the value of degree of dissociation can be determined from the conductivity measurements. The C1 and C2 are found experimentally, and by using these small x C1 and C2, by using the above equation, we can find the k value, that is we can find out the partition coefficient value. Using this k value, the value of degree of dissociation for any other concentrations of solute can be determined. So these are the applications of the Nernst equation and Nernst distribution law. So dear students, please listen carefully 2 or 3 times. While you listening this video, you have to make notes. Pause my video and make notes, and resume the video and listen and pause and write. So by this way you can got more and more knowledge about this question. Okay students, thank you one and all.